There is a specific kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. It's the fatigue of a mind that is constantly on. Not because it's anxious, but because it's high performing. You might know this feeling. You aren't just thinking, you are auditing. You're auditing every tone of voice in a meeting, every seen notification on your phone, and every possible version of a future that hasn't happened yet. Today, we're going into the psychology of the hyper-aware mind. We're going to look at why your brain treats thinking like a survival skill, and why the most perceptive people are often the most drained. In psychology, we often talk about overthinking as a flaw, but that's a misunderstanding. What's actually happening is a phenomenon called hyper-vigilant processing. Most people see a room, you see a grid. You notice the micro-expressions, the subtle shifts in energy, the things left unsaid. Neurologically, this involves an overactive default mode network, DMN. This is the part of your brain that handles self-reflection and time travel, the ability to look back at the past and project into the future. For most, the DMN is a background app. For you, it's the primary operating system. You aren't broken. You just have a Ferrari engine for a brain with a manual transmission that's stuck in third gear. Why does the brain do this? It usually starts as a protective logic. If you grew up in an environment where things were unpredictable, perhaps a volatile household or a social circle where the rules kept changing, your brain developed a brilliant defense mechanism, the Predictability Shield. The logic was simple. If I can predict every outcome, I can prevent every pain. Your brain learned that thinking equals safety. The problem is that adulthood is inherently unpredictable. So, your brain keeps working overtime, trying to solve a puzzle that has no edges. You are using a survival strategy from your past to try and manage a future that doesn't require it. Here's the psychological paradox. The very thing that makes you an overthinker is also what makes you deeply perceptive. Studies in cognitive empathy show that people who ruminate often have a much higher capacity to understand others' perspectives. You are likely the person people turn to for advice because you see the hidden layers of a situation. But there is a shadow side to this gift. It's called decision fatigue. Because you see every variable, making a simple choice feels like a high-stakes calculation. You aren't indecisive. You're just overwhelmed by the sheer volume of data your brain is presenting to you. So, how do you handle a mind that won't stop? The goal isn't to stop thinking. That's like telling a heart to stop beating. The goal is to change your relationship to the noise. In psychology, we call this cognitive diffusion. Instead of saying, "I am worried about this," you say, "I am noticing a thought that is worried about this." It's a tiny linguistic shift, but it creates a buffer zone. It takes you from being the person in the storm to being the person watching the storm from a window. You recognize that your thoughts are just projections, not prophecies. If you relate to this, remember, your mind is not your enemy. It is a highly sophisticated instrument that was trained to protect you. The weight you feel isn't the weight of the world. It's the weight of trying to solve the world before it happens. Maybe the bravest thing you can do today isn't to find an answer, but to admit that for right now, you don't need one. Your brain has done enough. It's okay to let the system go offline for a while.